Hello, this is Shane, and welcome to the fourth video in this tutorial. In this video, we're going to have a look at Dungeon Level Builder's pattern matching system to place a few obstacles down. Now, you don't need the pattern matching system to place just regular obstacles down, but the type of obstacle that we're going to place in this tutorial is an obstacle that occupies two spaces, basically a container. And so let's get down to doing that. So exit play mode, and let's open up our level theme file, which is over here. Let's undock it and maximize it. Now this is what we have so far, and let's create our containers. Now what we could do is take the permanent obstacle tile that spawns with the level theme file and just add a container object to it. Now I'll do this and show you the problem we have when we do this way. So we're gonna have a prop. No, actually, I think it was container. Yeah, shipping container prefab. Yeah, so we've got our shipping container prefab spawning at every permanent obstacle location. So let's put this aside. Let's actually just dock it. Makes it easier for us to do. And let's build a level. Now you see, let's go to the scene to do this better. Now you see these containers have spawned at every position you would have an obstacle on. And while it looks acceptable in certain places, you have issues where containers have spawned one on top of the other, like in this particular situation over here. If I can select it and zoom in to show you, and minimize this. Let's minimize that a bit. Goodness, I want to minimize. Alright, let's just dock it back up here. So in this particular situation, this container has spawned right next to another container, and since a container object occupies two spaces, they intersect with each other. Now, this is not behavior that we want. Neither is this behavior where the containers are sticking out of the level walls. So Dungeon Level Designer comes up with a way to address this problem, and we do that with custom title tags and patterns. So let's do that. We will create a folder, call it custom title tags, and inside that folder let's create a custom title tag file, and just leave it with that name. And now a custom title tag file holds custom title tags, and the way we could add one is you just go add custom title tag and give it a name. So in this case we're going to call that shipping containers. And a custom title tag also needs a pattern, and optionally a negating pattern. So let us create the patterns that we want in this situation. Let's create a folder called patterns, and in that folder create a pattern called shipping container positive. So in order for a shipping container to spawn, since our shipping containers occupy two spaces, it would be logical that our shipping containers spawn when there are two obstacle positions next to each other. For instance, suppose there was an obstacle position here and an obstacle position here. It makes sense for this shipping container to spawn in the middle of the two and occupy both those spaces. So that's exactly what we're going to check for when we are placing these shipping containers. So the way we're going to do that is we initialize our pattern over here, and the way this pattern visual pattern representation works is the patterns have title tags defined over here, and everything means that this pattern would pass if it intersected with any of that stuff. So for instance, let's say the level grid had an empty tile right in the middle, and the middle is indicated with that red tile over there, and this particular arrangement wouldn't care what was around that tile, because it would pass for everything. It would pass for any kind of configuration, and that's exactly what we're trying to say. But in this particular case, what we're looking for is a situation where we have a permanent obstacle title tag next to another permanent obstacle title tag. And when we find such a configuration, we want to spawn a shipping container. So that's all we need in that situation. And now let's try and see what happens when we add our new pattern to our custom title tag over here. So in order to have our custom title tags available to us to use in our level theme file, we need to attach it to the level theme file. So we have our level theme file here, and let's just lock it in the editor, and then find our custom title tag file and just attach it in there. And the moment we do this, we can now come into our level theme editor, and when we right click and say add custom title tag, we have the option of shipping container. So far so good. And let's detach our shipping container from here and bring it to this situation here. Now what you're going to see is we might have less shipping containers, but we haven't actually solved our problem. So what we've said basically is that when you find a situation with two shipping containers next to each other, or rather two permanent obstacles next to each other, spawn a shipping container. Now let me just adjust the shipping container to make sure that its offsets are placed above the ground. So in order to do that, we want an offset of 1.5, and let's scale it down a little bit as well, just to make sure that it fits within two tiles. So now let's go have a look at that. So that is acceptable. We have our shipping container above the ground, or quite a bit above the ground. How far above the ground is this? Okay. So we are looking at 1 instead of 1.5 probably. Let's try that out again. Yep, that seems better. Now, in this custom title tag, the way we would like to check this particular pattern is that we wouldn't want to check it in just this direction. We would like to check it in this direction, and then rotate the pattern 90 degrees, and then check it in this direction, and then rotate it 90 degrees again, and then check it in this direction. And if this particular pattern is found in any of these rotations, we'd like to spawn a shipping container, because it would be kind of tedious to have to create additional patterns for every single rotation we'd like to check. So in order to do that, all we have to do is check the check rotated field under the custom title tag, and when we hit build, we run into the problems I was talking about. Now, what we see over here is that even though we've told our custom title tag pattern to check when two permanent obstacles spawn next to each other, or rather we have two permanent obstacle tags next to each other to spawn a shipping container, we have no way of knowing if a shipping container has already occupied that space or not. And hence, in this particular situation, we spawn for this particular tile, because there's a permanent obstacle to be spawned here and then one to be spawned here. We spawn on this particular tile because there's a permanent obstacle to be spawned here and one here. And we spawn on this tile as well because there is a permanent obstacle to be spawned here and one here. And it matches the patterns perfectly. There's no issue because we've checked rotated, so it matches these patterns, but this is not the behavior that we actually want. We want some way to tell our level visually, our level generation algorithm visually, that this tile is occupied. And the way we do that with the Dungeon Level Designer is to click on the game object node, and the game object node has an option to say mark on custom title type map. And basically what this does is it marks a grid held in the visual generation part of Dungeon Level Builder, and it can mark positions on that grid to say that those positions are occupied. So in the case of our shipping containers, since our shipping containers occupy two spaces, I'd like to mark the space that it actually occupies right in the middle, and the space to its right in this case. And let's move the shipping container to its right so that it occupies that particular space. So in order to do that, we move it to its right, and we would want to invert the rotation just to make sure that everything is fine. So this still wouldn't solve our problem. This would just take care of our shipping containers sticking out of the ground. It would take care of this situation because what we basically said here is that we would like our shipping containers not to stick out of the ground. So, but we have this ugly situation again where they're intersecting over here. So in order to fix that, we need a negating pattern, and the negating pattern is what is going to take into consideration the marks that these shipping containers make. So let's just duplicate this pattern over here, and we're going to rename this pattern shipping container negating. And what we're going to mark on this pattern is that we have no issue with the shipping container spawning if it meets this shipping container positive pattern, as long as it does not also meet the shipping container negating pattern. And the negating pattern in this case is unlike the shipping container positive pattern. In the shipping container positive pattern, the entire pattern had to match. In the shipping container negating pattern, if any one of these options match, it will say that the pattern is basically negated. So what we're looking for is, in this case, if the shipping container is trying to be spawned in an area where it's already been marked as a custom type, meaning that it's already been marked by an existing shipping container, then in that case, the shipping container won't spawn in that area. And the way we do that is we come to the negating pattern for our shipping containers, and we say shipping container negating. Now what you're going to find is that when I build, I don't get the problem with that horizontal shipping container intersecting with the one that we've already created. Because in this particular case, this pattern is marked in those spots that, hello, I have occupied this particular spot. And when the next shipping container comes along, and the pattern checks and says, okay, here, there's a permanent obstacle here, and there's a permanent obstacle on this tile. When it checks to see if the negating pattern has also passed, it will say, nope, this area is marked as occupied, so this can't pass. So that is one of the benefits you get with custom patterns that I feel that in other packages, in other procedurally generated packages, that in order to do something like this, you would have to touch the code and touch it quite extensively. And that would be beyond the scope of most people. But in Dungeon Level Builder, you can define these patterns and just do it visually. So now that we have our shipping containers laid out, and I hope you understand what I'm talking about, let me just make it slightly clearer, and I'll show you where these custom title tags have been marked on the level. So in order to do that, I'm going to create in our custom title tag file a field that says custom types, and we'll spawn a cube for everywhere a custom type is marked. So let's create a pattern, and this pattern will be called custom type pattern, and initialize the pattern, and this pattern will pass if the middle type is a custom type. So everywhere where a custom type has been spawned, it will spawn this cube. I hope you're following along with me. I know this can be a little complicated. So we're going to have custom type pattern over here, and when we go to our theme file and we say add custom title tag node, I have the option of checking custom types, and I'll add a cube in here. It's a cube I've already created. Let's just go cube. Nope. Test. No. Where's the cube I created? Cube. Alright, let's just create a cube that we can test with. So I'll go 3D object cube in my scene, and just drop my cube into a prefab folder here. So I've got my cube in my prefab folder. I'll delete it from the scene and go to my theme file and add cube. Now I want him to spawn above the container, so let's just give him a decent Y offset so that he spawns above the containers that we have. Now let's go and build, and here you can see a visual representation of which areas have been marked on the custom title tag map as being occupied. So here you go. Everywhere we have our shipping containers, we also have areas that have been marked off as saying they're occupied. So that's what prevents other objects from being placed in that area. Now, to give you a better example, let's say we wanted to place another type of obstacle in our permanent obstacle positions, but we did not want it to occupy these spaces that have been marked as occupied. So the way we would do that is come to our custom title tags file and say, let's say permanent obstacle O1, and we'll create a pattern for it. Permanent obstacle O1. Let's initialize our patterns, and we want it to spawn when there is a permanent obstacle title tag spawned. So if we just left it like this and put it in to our pattern, now if we go in here and we go add custom title tag, and we'll have the option, and have a rather nice looking wooden crate here that should act as a nice, yeah, right here, that should act as a decent permanent permanent obstacle. And let's do that. So now when I hit the build, you will find you don't see them right now, but there are crates that have been spawned in there as well, right in my shipping container, and that's definitely not behavior we want. So in order to prevent that from happening, all I need to do is I go into my pattern option here, and I duplicate this, and I say permanent obstacle O1 negating, and this would be a negating pattern, so I don't want it to negate if on anything around it, but I do want it to make sure that it's not occupied a tile that has already been occupied. So that's all I need, and I come in here and I say PO1 negating, and in order to show you that there are none of these crates actually occupying the shipping containers space, I'll give them an offset of 2. And now if I go to build them, I should see that these crates spawn in all the permanent obstacle positions except the permanent obstacle positions already occupied by our shipping container. Yeah, you can see that. Now, this functionality is, this pattern matching functionality of Dungeon Level Builder is what I personally find to be its most powerful feature. You can literally come up with a whole bunch of cool ideas on how you want to decorate your level, but you might find the coding part of that a little overwhelming, and Dungeon Level Builder has created this pattern matching system where all of that is done visually for you. Although it is still a little complicated, I'll give you that. It's not as complicated as having different scripts attached to your builder, and within those scripts having to define conditional statements checking for the particular objects in particular spaces. So that is it for for video 4. I will create video 5 in a bit and explain other aspects of the Dungeon Level Builder to you.